What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mighty Mouse here with another video. The sirens of Sanctuary are absolutely sounding right now. Spiritborn takes Vessel of Hatred by storm. The classes are in, I think, a pretty good state balance-wise for everybody else across the board, but I think there's a lot to talk about with the Spiritborn, and I'll just start there. We'll get most of the negative stuff out of the way first, because I don't want this to be a D4 bad video, but I have a lot to say. So, the Spiritborn, overall fun. I played about 10 hours of it. I've played about 110 hours of Barbarian, and it took way less effort to, for one, even get geared out on Spiritborn. Not even trading for anything, just stuff just fell from the sky for me. I have, as you can see, a lot of greater affix items here for the barb, but none of them are really useful, and none of them have any good aspects on them. I have no maxed out aspects, so that sucks. But you don't need anything with Spiritborn. All you need is a rod and you're good. Because if you think about it, with 200 maximum resource, it essentially gives you as much increase to your critical strike damage as 6 grandfather swords. A mythic unique. It gives as much as 6 times that. And it's basically tempered with the best tempers for legendaries, because it makes it hit twice. So it does 6 times the damage of a grandfather, 2 times every time. On, as well as just having like absolutely crazy stats on it. I mean, it has more maximum resource than the grandfather, which is, again, a mythic unique. That doesn't make any sense. Why does it have an item that says this item's affixes can roll higher than normal, has less maximum resource on it than an item that is a generic class unique? It has less critical strike damage increase baseline. Even with 100 vigor, you still get a 300% critical strike damage increase from the unique aspect. And what does that do? Well, when your base damage is 600, imagine before the stat squish, when your base damage was 3,600, how much that would be. Just think about how overtuned the class has to be for all the naysayers saying it's just bugs that are doing it. That's all it is. Yes, there's a ton of bugs, and it's making it to where it's doing 1,000x, as everyone has calculated. People far smarter than me have done the math, and it's 1,000x. But even at that, it's 1,000x more damage with these bugs, but without them, it's still going to be doing more damage than the most broken barbarian builds were ever doing, with 6 times the base damage, which is what everything scales off of and what all your multipliers are multiplying. So just imagine how overtuned it has to be doing quadrillions of damage. Even if you take 1,000,000,000 and you divide that by 1,000, that's still more damage than other classes are doing. Like, my barb is doing millions. It's still going to be doing more damage than that. Every skill does 1,000 things, and then the passives are all just damage multipliers. Like, for example, let me get on my Spiritborn here quick. I can't pronounce half the shit that's in this, but imagine for a second this weapon here. Okay? baseline makes your basic skills deal 90% increased damage and always use their third attack. So what does that do? So that would mean that you always get resolve, or you always gain increased thorns, or you always attack as with an unleashing of all this bullshit, and it's a 100% damage increase. And every third time, it strikes 3 times. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, imagine this +6 ranks to follow through, gets masterworked and triple crit. Well, what does follow through do, you might ask? It's more multiplicative damage. So on third casts, it's 12 times. That's with 3 in it. Now add 6 to that. So now you're looking at 36 times that. Well, now it's going to be masterwork. So now you're looking at like 48 times that. So that it doesn't read, it increases your damage by 100%. It's more than that. Because it has the best passive it could possibly have on it. It has everything on it. Every item for the Spiritborn has everything that you need it to have. Period. I don't know. It just seems broken. It's got cooldown reduction in the boards, in its Paragon board, dodge chance in its Paragon board, barrier generation. It's got everything you could need in this Paragon board. Its glyphs are a little bit overtuned. Its legendary nodes are a little bit overtuned. I mean, they have a glyph that gives you a free razor plate. You get 2,000 thorns just for free. You just get it. 2,000 base thorns, which is way more important than multiplying your damage by 10%. Like Revenge, for example. Getting a 10 or 15% damage multiplier of your thorns. You get more base damage to be multiplied by all your other multipliers. You see how there's like a reoccurring thing here. It's just at base face value, everything is just better about the class. There's just more to it. Deal 9% damage, double this bonus versus elite enemies. Like, gain 60% increased dodge chance during an evade. Critical strike damage. Deal more damage when you're unhindered. And there's all this stuff, and you can spam your ultimate skill. Well, what does an ultimate skill do? What do you know? It increases your damage by 15%, or double that if there's only one enemy, so 30%. It grants you 30 extra vigor, which is essentially now 90% multiplicative extra critical strike damage. And then what else does it do? Oh, well, let's max this out. It gives us another 30%. It increases by 3 up to 30%. And then what does it do? It makes you unstoppable. So then that lets you use this other passive up here that gives you multiplicative damage. And then it heals you. And then it makes your other skills free to cast. And then because of this, you can have this up constantly. You can always do this, so you always get all of these at all times. Like, these aren't even conditional anymore. These are just absolutely always happening. I just feel like there was a whole lot put into this, and they're just not doing anything with the other classes quite like that. And I get that they've had a lot of time to learn from it, but you allow people to temper on resilient but not imposing presence. That was too much HP for Barbs, but it's not too much HP for the Spiritborn, which directly scales all of its damage, not just Thorns damage, but all of its damage based around its health. Like, I don't know, it's almost as if they just said, watch this, we're going to blow their mind. They're going to absolutely freak out about this. And they just released it as a troll. Like, watch, we're going to nerf all the other classes, then we're going to release this. We're going to put 50 more tiers of the pit in that no other class can do, and watch how easy it's going to be for this new class. It's not going to be frustrating at all to people whose favorite classes aren't Spiritborn. They're going to just switch to Spiritborn. I don't know. I hope that it wasn't their goal to just get a bunch of casual players. Like, for example, launch was delayed for PC BattleNet issues when PC BattleNet was the only people that had PTR. They had early access to the game from a few Diablo partners, but they had issues with coding. But meanwhile, the 6-hour delay, they have all these people streaming footage from their early release, hyping up the Spiritborn class, hyping up Vessel of Hatred, and giving away free copies of the game, almost as if to give more pre-sale copies of the game out because they didn't hit some sort of quota. And then all of a sudden, when they hit that number, it was fixed and they could do it again. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it like it would kind of be a pretty Blizzard move to do. But it's not all doom and gloom. The game is cool. Like, there's more to do, even though we're basically doing the same things that we've always done, because this continent is basically useless. Nothing occurs down here. Nothing goes on. Like, okay, cool. We got some whispers down here. Undercity's okay, I guess. Undercity's cool. Decent. But, like, Realm Walkers overwhelmingly spawn up here because obviously it's the biggest part. What we've always done. Helltide overwhelmingly spawns up here. All the bosses done up here. There's like, you released an entire expansion and there's not even another ladder boss. Like, where was all this development time? Like, what did you spend it doing? At the end of it all, we didn't even get to fight the big bad till the end. Like, it's like a dun 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 to be continued. Next, stay tuned. Like, just a cliffhanger to sell you another expansion. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. But that being said, the stat squish created balance for the other 5 classes, which was nice. I like the idea of it being a little grindy. The progression is okay. It feels a little too grindy. I think if they dial it back about 20%, it would be about perfect. Make it a little more achievable. But again, I played Diablo 2. I'm not opposed to grinding. The gear is abysmal. Like, gearing for any other class but Spiritborn cannot be done. You cannot switch builds. You must pick one, because the masterworking materials in the Horde's been nerfed, the Gold's been nerfed. So without playing Spiritborn and getting items that the other players in the community need to trade for them, you cannot farm gold. Whisper caches don't give enough. There's not an amount of Aether you could get in a Horde run that would ever equal the value of a Spiritborn opening the 200 Aether chest. You get an item that has max health, you sell that for 1 billion. So it took 200 Aether to get 1 billion gold. But 2,500 Aether gets you 15 million. Like, what? I don't know. But cosmetics are cool this season, even though there's not really much of a season mechanic. It's just kind of draggy. The journey is just kind of, it just drags on and on and on and on, kind of like I'm doing in this video, and I really hate beating a dead horse. But I don't like what they did with bosses. No ancestral legendaries, except for my one video. You guys can go check that out. Varshan dropped me a non-ancestral legendary polearm. That was cool. I think it was supposed to be my mythic, but it wasn't. What else is there? I mean, I really want to go to a positive note here. Yeah. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. No new world boss, no new ladder boss. The new mythic uniques felt like they were engineered by someone who'd never played the game. The original release of the mythic uniques were underwhelming. They did nothing in comparison to even regular unique items or legendaries. I mean, Grandfather is a two-handed sword whose affixes roll higher than normal. And it has less health on it than a legendary greater affix item. They had to fix that like immediately. There's a bunch of bugs that need fixed. But again, the Spiritborn is fun. Like it's well put together. I like the class. It's the variety is there. The build diversity is there because it's so overwhelmingly overtuned. You can play whatever you want and you're going to fucking slay it. Like you're just going to slay whatever. Doesn't matter. You can literally play anything. You want to do a basic attack build? Cool. You want to do a core skill build? Cool. You want to do a potency skill build? Cool. You want to do a potency skill build as a core skill so you can make it a basic skill so it can deal 6,000% more damage than it was already doing? You can do that. Like, it's sweet. Like, it just needs tuned back a little bit. I think they just need to tweak a few things. They need to take a long, hard look in the mirror, swallow their pride, fix a few things. I'm not saying nerf it into the ground, but fix a few things. Buff the other classes. For God's sake, give every class like a fucking 5x buff. Like, seriously. What would it hurt? You did all these nerfs to Barbarian. You nerfed some key Sork builds. You nerfed Victimize. You nerfed the one cool off-meta fucking druid build they had with the singing druid because you don't like fun. You want people to play like this. They can't play like that. All for the sake of balance. And then you released with a shit-eaten grin and giggling like some fucking schoolgirls about how overpowered it was going to be on a campfire chat, this Spiritborn class. But you did all this nerfing for the sake of balance, and then you fucking laughed about how overpowered the class was going to be. Like, it's fucking funny. I don't know. I don't mean to swear. I'm just I'm a little worked up about this. I love this game. It's the only game I play. I don't have a lot of money to buy games, so I find one that I like and I play it. I invest in it. I'm a full-time fucking worker in a factory. I have a kid who demands constant attention most of the time. I have hobbies. I have things. I'm trying to work on getting a help center for people with mental health issues up and running, and I got a lot going on. So when I sit down, I want to grind. I want to play a game that I love, and I want it to be the game that I love. We completely revamped loot in season 4, completely revamped all of the uniques in season 5, revamped progression this season, but then also reverted all the changes to itemization that they did. Like, completely redid loot again, basically. It's like reinventing the wheel over and over again, but this time going, if it's square, it's going to be better than when it's round. Maybe season 7 they'll make it a fucking triangle. I don't know. Like, man, I really wanted to have some more positive things to say, man. Oh, the Ugly Bastard helm. I shit on it when it first released. Love it. I think it's sweet. I think the stats are a little meh on it, but baseline, lucky hit chance to deal fire damage, and all your damage is converted to fire damage. Pretty cool. I like that. Hellhammer, still shit. Because it is burning enemies. It's not fire damage. So like, you think those two would really synergize well, and it hits like a pool noodle. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. It don't work. Oh, and for the love of God, can we get something for like greater affixes on uniques? Like Magnum Opus. I just salvaged a 4GA and a 3GA Magnum Opus because they were absolutely useless, because I got a 0.2 roll on a 4GA and a 0.3 on a 3GA. How about one greater affix? Baseline, 0.3 out of 0.5. 2, 0.35. 3, 0.4. 4, 0.45. So at least you're getting like a top 15 to 20% roll. There's still room for error. It might not be perfect, but if every other stat on it is perfect, it feels really terrible having the only stat that matters on an item. Like, legitimately, this item having a 0.5 and having no greater affixes is better by 10 times a 4 greater affix Magnum Opus with a 0.2 roll. Like, straight up. I think that if they did that in the mid-season patch, that alone would save the season. Do that and buff the classes by double. Just give them a fucking just 100% damage increase across the board for every class. Fuck it, give it to Spiritborn. It doesn't matter. Buff them twofold. What does it matter if they're doing quintillion damage? They're already one-shot and pit bosses, so you can't one-shot any harder than one-shot. So just buff them too. Fuck it, buff everybody.
Look.
Make every aspect better. I don't know what you gotta do, but do something, please.
Look.
And rework the runes, maybe. The rune word system was cool, but it's like, is it? I don't know if it is. But alright, that's all I got. We'll see you next time.